NB045, good to see you. Sweet Country Living in Michigan, welcome back. Beltrix says hello again. Aaron Frazier says real quick. Yeah, I had to send something. It was in my outbox, or it was in my drafts. I just had to send it. So I apologize for that. Thank God I didn't. Thank God I did not forget. That would have been a disaster, big disaster. GX72, Philip Richards, welcome. Good to see you. MSK says hello again. Welcome back to part 2 of Walks on Wall Street, my friends. We are standing on the corner of, well, 1 block away from Broadway. We are on Canal Street. We are going to be headed towards downtown. SME Media, Otto, welcome. Deborah, good to see you guys. Hope everybody is well. Sunshine, New York City. Always a pleasure. You know, let's go this way. We haven't been this way on the stream in a long time. Tone Rick says we're back live. Neil Bell, good to see you, Neil. Yeah, I had to do something, everybody. I apologize, but yeah, we are back in action. We are good. Hey, Solo 401. Always a pleasure to see you here, Solo. We are on Canal Street. You know, Solo, we're going to see an amazing view of the World Trade Center here in a minute. I think you're going to enjoy it. Arctic Trend is here, says yo. Good to see you, Arctic Trend. Sunshine NYC. Chris Beeman. So we're walking towards the Holland Tunnel. Whoa, I think we got to go back just a couple inches. Look at this. I don't think we've ever seen this shot of the Empire before. Check that out. So all the way in the distance, you have this amazing shot of the Empire State Building. Yes, me media. So I do have a dog. My dog is a beagle, but it's getting old. It's getting a little bit old. But I love my dog. My dog's name is Ocho Cinco. Wow, look at that view all the way in the distance. GX72 Google. Good to see you guys. Hey, Rich K says, how is another 75 basis points going to slow the economy when the real problem is inflated money supply? Yeah, I think we talked about that on our last live stream, Rick. And you're 100% right. You know, here's another interesting comment. Wow, look at this shot of One World Trade. But Rick, I agree with you. And all of these Fed presidents are coming out here and they're perplexed and they're saying things along the lines of, we are so disappointed that inflation has not come down, although we've been raising rates. So their conclusion to that is that they're just going to continue to raise rates. When in your comment, the real issue is money printing. So you can see the Hudson Yards all the way here as well, all the way in the back. lot of action going on tonight in New York. WW says, how long have you had your dog? About 12 years. 12 years now. As crazy as that sounds. But yeah, I would say my favorite breed of dog is probably a beagle. And then I'd say probably a close number 2 is like a yellow lab. Would you guys agree? What do you guys think? I think any type of yellow lab, black lab, beagle are probably my top 3. All right, might as well do it. What's everybody's top 3 breed of dog in the chat? Whoa, this is a Delphi University. I never knew they had a campus here at 75 Varick Street. So the main campus of Adelphi is located in Garden City, New York. They actually have a really, really nice campus. I never knew they had one in the city. GX72 says, I like Australian Shepherds. Border Collies are nice too. Sunshine After Rain says chocolate labs are fantastic. They are. Now, I think we talked about this before, but here's the problem with labs in general. The yellow lab, chocolate lab. It's so sad. Their back legs tend to get really, really bad arthritis, and their legs tend to give out. So when I was a kid, when I was really young, that was, well, I would say one of the first dogs. One of the first dogs that I had, not my siblings, but was a yellow lab. And as those dogs get older, unfortunately, their back legs, they give out. And it's sad to see. It's really sad to see, honestly. But yeah, Dusty Cole, you're right. Hip dysplasia. Michelle K is a big fan of beagles. I like them too. Now, my sister has a husky, and the husky is so beautiful because it has 2 different color eyes. It's amazing. Look at all these brand new luxury apartment buildings here. Right near the Holland Tunnel. Just 7 years ago, you'd have never seen any of this here. They have some really, really nice looking buildings here, though. Jones is French Brittany Spaniel. Oh, look at how unique this one is. This one is brand new. It looks like all the retail storefront is completely vacant. Well, at least so far. But look at these apartment units here. These look really, really unique. Hey, Sam Pod says the housing market will crash 30% in Toronto. Well, the interesting thing is, if you thought the housing market was expensive in the United States, Canada has really, really big problems as it relates to affordability. So I think you make a good point, Sam, especially as interest rates are going up. VT is here. Says, hey, Tom and everybody. Good to see you, VT. Hey, Sag Ace is German Shepherd, Boxer, and Labs. Yeah, Boxers are nice. I also like English Bulldogs. I'm a big fan of English Bulldogs, but I think they tend to have a little bit of a shorter lifespan because they tend to develop breathing problems. But this is Broome Street, Varick Street. We're going to be walking uptown. This is part 2 to the live stream. I had to end it very abruptly. I had to send an email. Apologize. Troy Atman says, looks like Tom is in the middle of the road. We were on like a medium. But good to see you, Troy. Happy Saturday to you, my friend. Always appreciate you being here. Nori says, Huskies are a lot of work. Need lots of space. Oh my God. They are balls of energy. Crazy amounts of energy. Hey, Aaron Frazier says, how big are the apartments in New York? I'm from California and live in Virginia. Apartments are very small here. It's not uncommon for somebody to live in like a shoebox apartment. Now, the hotel rooms in New York are very small as well. Very, very small. Yeah, War Walkers is a new generation of homeless coming through. Some of us are priced out of the rental market. Well, I mean, that's an interesting dichotomy we're seeing. Because home ownership, or I would say home owner affordability, just reached an all-time record low. Because right now what we see is prices are still high, right? Housing prices are still high. We're gonna make a right. But rates are at 7%. So if you think about how that works, if you're looking to buy a $450,000 house at 3%, is it doable? Sure, it's doable. But is a $450,000 house doable at 7%? Probably not. That's almost 100% times more expensive. So I think you make a good point. And this has been driving a ton of people into the renter market. Well, look at this big construction site here. College of Staten Island. So everybody's being priced out of the buyer's market, so they're all flooding into the rental market, which is driving up rents even more. So we're at a very interesting point here in the United States. Wishk says, thank God we refinanced at 2.2% 2 years ago. Oh my gosh, that's insane. Yeah, so think about that. So if for all of those people, and I think we actually took a poll in the chat, and we said, what is the consensus estimate here for people who have mortgage rates under 5%? And it was almost everybody on the chat. Almost everybody in the chat had mortgage rates below 5%. So based upon that data, who would ever sell, right? Oh, did you guys see that flash? So New York City installed all of these red light cameras, and people have been getting banged with tickets. That's another reason why I don't drive in New York. So not only is gas expensive, parking is expensive, but you're probably gonna get a red light camera ticket as well. And so we just got existing home sales data out, and existing home sales have crashed for the 6th consecutive month in a row. But what's even more important in that data is that supply is still at all-time record lows. I think there's only about 3.3 months worth of supply on the market. And there needs to be about 6 months worth of supply on the market to have a balance worth of buyers of sellers. So being that we've been in this environment for the last 14 years of artificially suppressed rates, why would anybody sell their home just to go back into the marketplace? Maybe they want to downsize, get a smaller home, but you're going to be paying 7%. Some people have less than 3% on a 30-year fixed. Why would you do that? It's a good point. It's a good point. Hey, Jonathan Richards is here. Says, good evening, Tom. Good to see you, Jonathan. Line syncs as if you exceed the speed. Yeah, well, I mean, a big issue here in New York is the traffic, obviously. So you could be stuck in the middle of the intersection just because of the traffic. And if the light turns red, you take a picture of your license plate. Yeah, Whisk, I think you're right. Abre's property taxes in Illinois are horrendous, or in Illinois is horrendous. You know what? Same thing in New York. Same thing in New York. One of my friends, one of my best friends throughout college, he just bought a home last year for like 700 something thousand, and his property taxes are, I think, almost $30,000 a year. Now, I'm not really going to comment if I think that was a wise thing to do, since he's my friend, but yeah, I mean, At that point, if you're paying close to 30 grand a year in property taxes and the property is spitting off no cash flow, I mean, is it really an asset or is it a liability? I think we know the answer, but I don't understand why these people do that. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, Aaron Frazier's the same in Virginia. I think some of the lowest property taxes are in places like South Carolina, maybe North Carolina too. Love Is Kind says, hey Tom, did the live stream end and restart? It was so hard trying to join the live just now. It kept kicking me out of the live stream. Yeah, so we had to end it and then we just restarted it maybe 10 minutes ago. Sag Ace, Louisville, Kentucky is going up steadily. Hey, Ninja is here. Welcome. Good evening. Thanks for joining. JR. Austin City Limits, his vehicle maintenance is also so expensive. Well, here's some good news, I guess. If anybody is in the market for a new vehicle or a used vehicle, I think I would hold off until mid next year, maybe end of Q2, early Q3, Q4 next year. And I think you're gonna get a good deal. Because all of these people during COVID bid up the price of these used vehicles. And with global supply chains, we've had the price of new vehicles skyrocket. I think a lot of that stuff is going to go down relatively quickly because rates are going up. You know, I think I was reading Barron's last week, and they said about 25% of all new vehicle purchases, people are paying over $1,000 for their car note. Now, I don't know about you guys, but that is just ridiculous to spend $1,000 on a car note.
I thought you guys from New York.
To me, that is not ideal.
You can't sue them.
Photos from around New York. Welcome. Hope you're having a good Saturday. Zozo Bob says, I don't get those that live in New York and pay city, state, and income tax as well. Yeah, well, I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, we do have a lot of taxes here. To your point, if you work and live in the city of New York, right, within the 5 boroughs of New York City, Brooklyn, Bronx, Queens, Staten Island, Manhattan, not only do you have to pay the New York State income tax, but you are also paying the New York City tax, which is another couple points. So you're right. Yeah, exactly. War Walker's like plus outrageous insurance. I mean, think about that for a minute. Now, does anybody in the chat right now have a car payment above $1,000 or at $1,000? Now, again, it's not to say that, you know, you're making a bad decision or anything. I don't care. I'm just curious. Anybody have a car note that's $1,000? Hey, Ren 1018, good to see you. John says mine is $200. Yeah, I mean, I could see maybe if you have a huge truck that you use for your business, maybe you own a small business, then I would say all right, but yeah, Brad's brain is like, no. Hey, John is here. Says, hey, Tom, how are you? I'm doing good. Hope you're well, John. Ren 10 is like, I always buy used cars outright. I think that's a good decision, Ren 10, because if you talk about depreciation, I mean, cars depreciate faster than any asset. Once you drive it off the lot, it depreciates automatically. So if you're looking for a car, I would get a used car that has a couple thousand miles on it. It'll drive great, get one owner, and I think you'll be fine. Norris is about $400 a month SUV Mini. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. Sparks Carnival says, Tom, if you live in New York City and work in Yonkers, you're paying New York State tax, New York City resident taxes, and Yonkers tax. Really? I don't think you're paying New York City tax. I mean, I don't know about that. That does seem insane. Because I know if you live on Long Island and work in New York City, you don't pay the New York City tax. All right, so team, this is the Village Tavern. Seems like a lot of people are lined up outside of this thing. Look at this. Tons of people out here tonight. Hey, Just Barry says, hey Tom, I love my 96 Saab. Had it for 16 years. Hey, I mean, if it gets the job done, at the end of the day, a car takes you from point A to point B. A lot of people out tonight. Maybe we'll walk all the way over to Pier 40. Now, I think the most reliable car, or I would say like sustainable car that's going to sustain you over a 10-year period or more, I think is a Toyota than a Nissan. Maybe we'll cross the other side of the street here. A little bit less foot traffic. But if you just want something that's going to last you a long time, that's rather reliable, I don't see anything wrong with like a little Toyota, Nissan Altima, Toyota Corolla. I think if you buy like a used Toyota Corolla, you are probably going to have that thing for hundreds of thousands of miles. Not just maybe a couple hundred miles, but hundreds of thousands of miles. GX72 says Honda. Yeah, Hondas are very reliable cars. Where's My Z says, any thoughts on market impacts of government going to central bank digital currency? Well, I think it's probably to be expected, but I don't think it's actually going to be bad in my view. And I'll tell you why. I think many people are afraid of digital currencies, but I would even argue that the US dollar is already digital, right? I think just the term digital scares a lot of people, but just think about your daily habits of purchasing goods and services. Now, maybe it's just me, and maybe this is a little bit of an anecdote. Oh, check this out. You have the Mexican flag and the US flag. That looks really good hanging from the pole here. I would say that the vast majority of my personal purchases are digital. I use Apple Pay almost for everything. Yeah, I would just say I use Apple Pay almost for everything. So right now, technically, the US dollar is already digital. I mean, if you look at all of the dollars in circulation today, it would be impossible to physically take out all of those dollars and hold them, you know, in one room or in a bank or something like that. The dollars just don't physically exist. It's just digital money printed on a screen. So I think maybe transitioning to a Fed coin, I think they would call it. They'd probably call it like a Fed coin. I think that's more likely than not, I would say. But I don't think it would have any material impacts on economic conditions. I think it would sort of be same as usual. You know, maybe they could have a little bit more, I would say, censorship over your life. But I don't really see any big material difference. Thoughts on that? What are your guys' thoughts on that? Because right now, the dollar is already pretty much digital. Hey, Cindy Foley says good night and be safe. Thank you, Cindy. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your weekend. Hey, Melissa 2087 says busy Saturday night. Good to see you. The Celtec says new cars will virtually last forever with good maintenance. Useless Eater says no digital currency. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm adapted to it a little bit more, but I don't really see an issue with it. Abby says big no to digital currency. Yeah, I mean, I understand the concerns about censorship and, you know, things like that. But at the end of the day, here's how I think about it. At one point in time, everything was a little bit new to everybody. And usually throughout history, new products, new services, new innovation is met with resistance, right? I mean, physically everything, going all the way back to the invention of the automobile, right? There was horse and buggies, and people that owned a lot of these companies that would build these horse and buggies were lobbying against having automobiles. But fortunately, technology just persists, and then everybody adapts to it. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen in this case. And it's going to happen so gradually and so slowly that you don't even notice it. And in my view, I think it's already happened as it relates to digital currency. The LT Prods is with checks and debits / credit cards. We have digital, or we have been digital for a while. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, like I don't even remember the last time I paid for something with physical bills. It's just Apple Pay. This is Village Cigars. Steven says people paying with garbage sells with crypto. It's not going to happen. Jonathan Richards is correct. People were frightened when the telephone first started. Yeah, I think it's just technology is going to evolve, and I think over the next 10 years, our lives are going to look so different than they do today. It's going to be ridiculous. I mean, think about your life 10 years ago. Your life probably looked a lot different 10 years ago than it does today. Hey, Deep Value says, well, in China, I believe it's all digital, in a sense, with an all-inclusive app. Yeah, it does seem like it's a pretty busy night here in the Village. Now, this is West 4th Street. Seems to be a lot of people out at the bars and restaurants. Hey, Just Barry is here. It's so cool that you're in the Village. I used to hang out there 42 years ago. Hey, Just Barry. You notice any material changes, or you think it just looks the same as from 42 years ago? If you look all the way downtown, you have a beautiful view of the One World Trade Center. A lot of people out tonight. Jeff W277 says, Tom, do they take digital payments at farmers markets at Union Square? At Eastern Market in Detroit, most tables don't. So I've never personally shopped at a farmers market in Union Square, but I will say this. A lot of the mom and pop organizations here in New York, some of the establishments are cash only, especially like bodegas, right? Especially like very, very small mom and pop style bodegas. They tend to be cash only. I think for reasons that we all understand that we don't have to announce here, just in case there's any IRS agents listening. But unfortunately, I've reached a point. Wow, this is an awesome setup here. They have everybody hanging out outside. They got the TVs going outside. This is fantastic. This is really cool. This place is called Kettle of Fish. I like the vibe tonight. Very nice environment. A lot of people outside having fun. I've sort of reached the point where if somebody doesn't take Apple Pay, I'm probably not going to be able to pay them because I just don't have any cash. We are now outside of the very famous Stonewall Inn. I'll give you guys a shot of the building. Stonewall Inn right here. Very famous spot. I think probably one of the most famous spots here in the Village. Yeah, Zach Wolf says cash is good for some unique purchases. Laney James says go Phillies. Yeah, Dan Zanks is especially in Flushing. That's true. But Dan, you know what I noticed? I was going to tell you this. Some of my favorite spots in Chinatown that used to be cash only now accept Apple Pay and now accept credit card. So in Chinatown, there's some fantastic spots. Some of my favorite places to eat are in Chinatown. And back in the day, I'm saying back in the day, I'm talking about like 2013 when I was a freshman in college. They all used to be cash only. So I used to have to go to like Chase, pull out, 10 or 20 bucks in order to get, soup or something like that. Here, I'll give you guys a shot of the very famous Grove Street here. Hey, Thomas L. says, I am probably one of the few that does not use it. And it never does. It connects right to your savings account. Okay, Thomas, I get it. Apple Pay. So Apple Pay is essentially you just put your credit card on your phone. Does that make sense? So instead of having to carry around my physical like Amex or my physical bank card, you could just punch in your criteria on your phone, and then all you do is you just tap the home button twice. Your card pops up, you tap to pay, and that's it. Hold on, let me just kill out of these bots. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. I just use digital Apple Pay. Yeah, Dan Zanks is me too. Most of the bubble tea stores accept credit cards now. Photos from around New York says Noodletown is still cash only. Is it really? So Photos from around New York, have you been in Great New York Noodletown since the renovation? I may have to do that tomorrow. I may have to go there tomorrow. Yeah, we'll see. Montana says cash is very big in rural Montana. I have a business about 2 out of. Got it. Hey, NPC 007, good to see you. Tech Explorers NYC says good evening. Welcome, everybody. So this is part 2. This is Waverly Place. Think Coffee, pretty good. So this is part 2 of the live stream. Welcome back, everybody, to Walks on Wall Street. Now, Saturday's live stream, we usually don't have a specific financial topic, but I will tell you, we did talk about a couple things, and that is stock market performance after midterm elections. Oh, look at this dog. Oh, 2 dogs, nice. That is stock market performance after midterm elections. So the average return, I would say. Oh, look at this. Check out this view. Oh, no, YouTube.
Let's go.
Good to see you. Walks on Wall Street. Hey, nice. No interviews, no. I forget what I was saying, but ever since, I would say let's just call it 28. We'll walk down a little bit, we'll make a lap, and then we'll head up to Penn Station. But since 1928, if we talk about stock market performance in October, November, and December, actually pretty positive. September is by and large the worst month for stock market performance, but October tends to have a gain of about 0.5% as it relates to the S&P 500. November, about 0.6% as it relates to the S&P, and December, about 1.4% as it relates to the S&P 500. So we had a brutal September. October is looking like it's probably going to close positive. We did have a follow today. But in the 20 midterm election years that have occurred during that time period, okay, so since 1926, the S&P 500 has gained an average of 6.7% in the 3 months after midterms. If we look out 6 months, that return goes up to 14%. And if we go one full year after midterm elections, stock market or S&P 500 is usually up about 15%. So we could be heading into an environment that is a little bit more favorable for the market. And I think that's probably going to play out, being that market sentiment is at all-time record lows, right? Granted, Q3 earnings season is in full swing. We just reviewed a lot of the bank earnings, which hasn't been too hot. A lot of the investment banking fees are down quite big. As it relates to IPO activity, initial public offerings are down 99%. Terrible economic news across the board as it relates to housing, as it relates to inflation data. But usually the market is a forward-looking indicator. And all of the forward-looking indicators are telling us that inflation is probably going to crack, and crack hard, sometime around next year. So I think the odds are in our favor that we may have a pretty good 2023 as it relates to the stock market. Okay, so photos from around New York. That's exactly what I get when I go there. Brad's brain says 15% isn't going to do it, Tom. Biden has done too much damage. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. But I guess sort of to play devil's advocate, though, if we think about the let's just talk about the results, and not to get too political, but if we talk about results of the midterm elections, if we have a quote-unquote red wave, that would actually be the most optimal positioning for the stock market, because the market tends to perform the best when there is a Democrat as a president, which we have, President Joe Biden, and when we have, I would say, a red control of both houses of Congress. And this research comes out of Fundstrat, our good friend Tom Lee, or Thomas Lee. So I don't know, I always sort of like to play devil's advocate. I'm leaning bearish, but I mean, we just got a follow-through day. Now, not every follow-through day is going to lead to a new bull market, but no new bull market has ever started without a follow-through day. Now, it's also possible, hold on, let me just go through here a second. It's also possible that we could just have an interim rally where we rally back to the 200-day and then we sort of fade and make another low. That's also possible. So this is probably just a tradable low. Hey, JR, Tom, what are the things to watch for this coming week? So we're going to go over that tomorrow in our Market to Look Ahead live stream, but this week is probably the most important week on Wall Street, because we are going to be hearing from Microsoft. We are going to be hearing from Apple as it relates to their earnings reports. So pretty much all the main big stocks in the Dow 30 are going to be reporting earnings. It was interesting to see Snapchat really get clocked after their earnings report. And if you remember correctly, Meta was down on the back of poor earnings at Snapchat. So who knows? I mean, maybe if they report earnings, I'm talking about Meta, maybe they are going to follow the same trajectory or the same path of Snapchat. I mean, they rely heavily on advertising. So if advertising is down across the board at Meta, it could be down. I mean, if advertising is down across the board, at Snapchat, it could be the same thing at Meta. So this is 3 Sheridan Square. Seems like this is a big popular place. Hey, Melee, this is Tom. Meta is going downhill. Well, I mean, the stock is discounted, like what, 73% this year? Now, I think the biggest concern with Meta is if we think that Zuckerberg is making an appropriate bet on the metaverse. Hey, Daniel is here. Says, hey everybody, good to see you, Daniel. Thank you for joining. Oh, Jeff says, I bought Snapchat after the earnings crash. Wow. Sparks Carnival says the tech sector continues to face fierce headwinds from the strong dollar. That is also true, because the tech sector tends to have a lot of their earnings priced into the future, and as you have stronger dollar and higher interest rates, their future earnings become worth less in today's dollars. Also a lot of multinationals, I would say. It's going to be interesting to see how MMM or 3M reports. Caterpillar has a lot of multinational exposure. So, you know, if you're a US company and you have a large portion of your revenues based overseas, well, how do you think that's going to impact when you try to convert that foreign currency back to dollars? That's going to be a pretty steep discount there. So FX currency loss is probably going to be pretty terrible. Hey, DJ Reviews in Under 2 says, hey Tom, watching from Southeast Georgia. Hope you're having a good weekend so far. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Hope you're having a good one as well. So Dan, me personally, so Dan's asking, do you think Snapchat's a good buy after earnings? I don't think so. I would never personally own Snapchat. And that's just because the business model, I don't think the business model for Snapchat is sustainable. I mean, think about some of the main reasons why Snapchat's revenues have been continuing to decelerate. And I think the biggest factor comes into play with Apple, right? So Apple's new policy changes has really impacted Snapchat, has really impacted Alphabet. And I think that's going to continue. And Snapchat has done a really, really bad job with monetizing the business. And they're trying to sort of throw a Hail Mary pass with this sort of subscription-based service. Now, does anybody know how much the subscription-based service is going for? I think it's like $5 a month for Snapchat Premium, but I don't know who in their right mind would ever pay for that. But I think, you know, their head's in the right place. If they want to make a sustainable business model, they need to have sustainable recurring revenue. I just don't think the advertising business will be able to sustain. Spark Carnival says Apple releases their new door locks. It looks very cool. Did they really? Apple door locks. I never heard that. I'm gonna have to check that out. Maybe I'll get that for my property. You know, I think that would do very well, Sparks Carnival, like an Apple security system. I think they would crush the competition. I would buy the Apple security system if they put it out. Hands down, I would get it for my investment property. And maybe you could sync your video, like security video, to your iCloud, store it there. I think it's a good idea. Dusty Cole says Snapchat is for the children's. Yeah, I don't even use Snapchat. I don't have one. Hey, Sally is here. Says, hey, Tom, you're back. Indeed, we are. We are now going to be walking uptown. This is West 10th Street. Ooh, looks like someone's not too happy. JR says you're definitely on to something. Is there baseball playoffs going on tonight? There seems to be a lot of people out. Jeff says, I don't use Salesforce and analysts can't possibly love a company more. I think a lot of the growth in Salesforce is baked in. And I think in order for Mark Benioff, to grow the company is going to be through acquisitions. And I think you're starting to see that. I mean, most notable acquisition is Slack. I mean, they acquired Slack, formerly publicly traded company, under the ticker symbol WORK, W-O-R-K. Now, does anybody remember the rumor on Wall Street back in the day that Atlassian was going to make a bid for Slack? Because Atlassian's ticker symbol is team and Slack's ticker symbol is work. So it would have been teamwork. I think that would have been kind of interesting. Wow, check out this outdoor dining place. LT Prods is Apple level Lock Plus with home key support. $329 on Apple's site right now. I'm gonna have to look into that a little bit more and see what it does. Because if it's sort of like a security style system, I think I may buy it actually for my investment property. All right, Harry Street here.
So you're either watching college game, like University of Missouri? Or...
Hey, class of Broadway is here. Good to see you.
No, when you went to Judy.
Phillies and Padres are tonight. So how many more rounds of baseball, like playoffs, are there? ADY says Tom walks from Wall Street, has the Liz Truss resignation as the British Prime Minister. The shortest in British history, 6 weeks affected the markets. I'm in the United Kingdom. Well, I think Liz Truss has definitely affected the markets. Undeniably. Now, the reason why she's no longer Prime Minister is because her policies. Now, I don't really want to just blame Liz Truss, but essentially the pension system imploded, and the currency, the pound sterling, was in an uncontrolled sell-off, and that was due to the Conservatives Party idea of this massive stimulus package. And the reason why the market sold off so aggressively, the equity market and the bond market, is because the market knew that her policies were going to work. And I'm all for lower taxes, I'm all for lower regulations, but the time to do it is probably not when there's 9% inflation that's ravaging the United Kingdom. So what happened was the bond market, or the gilts, I always say bond market because I'm in the United States, you guys have gilts, started selling off uncontrollably, and the yields on those gilts started spiking uncontrollably. And the problem is a lot of those pension funds out there have derivative exposure on those gilt yields in order to generate more income for their investors. But that strategy only works in an environment when yields are very, very low. But now that we are in an environment of rising interest rates, that strategy doesn't work. So when they announced this big spending plan, borrowing tons of money to try to stimulate the economy, slashing taxes, people lost confidence in the pound sterling. People lost confidence, didn't want to have anything to do with gilts, started dumping them. These pension funds started to get massive amounts of margin calls. And in order to meet your margin calls, you need to post more collateral. Well, how do you get more collateral? Well, you sell assets, right? You have to start to sell assets. So that creates a perpetual spiral of selling. And the Bank of England actually had to step in and pivot and start buying gilts to stabilize the debt market, to suppress yields and to save the currency. And this begs the question, could something like that happen here in the United States? Is it possible? I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting to see. But I will say this, I think there's going to be a whole new paradigm shift for the next couple of years. I think rates are going to be, I would say, higher than they were over the past 12 years for the foreseeable future. That's what I would say. Sag Aces, Yankees lost again. Dang. But if you guys are enjoying the live stream tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and hit the subscribe button if you are new. We do these live streams about 5 days a week between New York City and Miami. Hey, Tambra is here. Good to see you. Dolly Girl Twins says, yes, everything got out of hand very quickly. So here's my big question. Maybe you guys could help me answer it. It seems like it's almost impossible for us to do any type of quantitative tightening, because when we do QT as opposed to QE, it seems like something breaks each and every time. And that has been a very, very critical, I would say, criticism of perpetual quantitative easing. Because QE is like drugs. I think about quantitative easing a lot like alcohol and drugs. When you're taking them, it's a blast. You feel like you're on cloud nine. But once the drinks stop, you start to feel really bad. And the only way to cure that bad feeling is to start drinking again. So it's sort of very similar to QE, where if you take the punch bowl away, things start to implode. And it doesn't seem like we as a people can handle the implosion. So it seems like we are in a perpetual cycle of QE with a little bit of QT and then QE again. So I don't know how we could ever get ourselves out of this situation, in my view, but maybe you guys have some better ideas. Hey, Andy is here from South Korea. Good to see you. Sag Ace, I agree, and it's very frustrating. Kevin Ramsey says, great point. Melee says, Tom, diversify your financial portfolio and hold on to your cash. Yeah, so I have some of the highest levels of cash that I have ever held in my long-short portfolio, but we did have a follow-through day, and I do have a little bit of exposure to the XLE. But I don't know. I mean, how could we sort of get ourselves out of this perpetual debt cycle? It seems like if you're in a perpetual debt cycle, you have to stay in that perpetual debt cycle for the system to sustain. And once you take away the debt acquisition, the system implodes. I don't know. Hey, Machi is here from Buenos Aires, Argentina. So for all of the Argentinian viewers in the chat, or Argentine viewers in the chat, Argentina is unfortunately a place where inflation is extremely, extremely high. What are some of the things that you guys are doing over there to sort of hedge against inflation, if anything? Marcos is here, says watching directly from Brazil. Very good, I miss Manhattan. Hey, thank you so much for watching. And please come back to New York City as soon as possible. We'd love to have you here. All right, team, I'm gonna put you down on the sidewalk for a minute. Hey, Joe Driver's here, what's up? Temo is here, welcome. Joel says, is this a walking channel or a finance/economy channel? It is both. We do a live stream about 5 days a week between New York City and Miami, talking about the financial markets. And thanks for being here. Hold on, I gotta put you guys down for 1 minute. Just watch out for the rats. Do you guys see any rats? Were you guys good? Hope you guys were good. Yeah, Mike, you're probably picking up all kinds of things down there. Mr. Colts is home improvement goods up anywhere from 20 to 50%, depending on items. Whoa, look at this trash pile here. That thing's insane. All right, so this is 14th Street. We're gonna make a left. Now, since we split the live stream up into two halves, I think we're almost at 2 hour mark, but don't worry, I'll take you guys back with me to our one and only Moynihan train station. But if you guys sort of like our financial talks, if you scan the QR code on your screen and punch in your email, I do write a free financial newsletter where we talk about not only the US equity market, but emerging markets, fixed income, and the like. So if you scan the QR code, punch in your email, you will be signed up to receive that. Usually every other Thursday when the market closes, we will be getting back on track. We'd love to see you over there. Hey, Arum Z is here. Says, hey Tom, hope all is well. Appreciate you being here. So what do you guys think about Apple? What do you guys think they're gonna report? Now, I have some, maybe I'll save that for tomorrow's live stream. But I have an interesting perspective about Apple and how they may report earnings. Hey, Ron McAllister says, love New York. As a computer engineer, I'd love to step up and move there. Are you from there or Miami or someplace else? So I'm from New York, but I just recently bought a place, an investment property in Miami, Florida. So I usually split my time. But yeah, if you're an engineer, software engineer, definitely I would say come to New York. Tons of job opportunities. And it's gonna be a really good place for you to build like a network too. And if you're ever in New York, let me know. There's always a lot of interesting like tech events too between New York and Miami. Now, depending on, I mean, assuming if you're a software engineer, you could probably work wherever you want. But if you've never lived in New York, I would definitely recommend living here at least once. It's a fun city. I mean, we have our problems. We have a lot of lunatics here, but I think it's still a great place to be. Los Angeles Film is here. Jeff says, I don't buy or sell Apple, Google, Amazon, Netflix, and Meta more. I just buy more FN and sell more FNGU. I don't even know what that is. What is that, Jeff? Yeah, they all move together. Yeah, a lot of the FANG stocks, So that would be talking about like beta, right? They all have very similar betas. Joseph Hardaway says, what's the temperature out there? It's really, really nice tonight in New York. I think it's like 65 degrees. Now tomorrow on Sunday, it's gonna be freezing. And it's gonna be raining almost all day. So that's the downside. Ah, Jeff, so it's a levered ETF to FANG. Interesting. So here's my only concern with having a very, very highly weighted portfolio to a lot of the FANG stocks. If you look back throughout history, just because some particular company is a market leader doesn't mean they always hold their place as a market leader. You know, if you look at the top 10 holdings in the S&P 500 today and the top 10 holdings in the S&P 500 20 years ago, it looks very different. So here is the new school once again. One of my favorite, I would say, architectural design. Looks really interesting.
You have to be safe. There is a flight.
Yeah, Ron says, at least Apple isn't bleeding out like Meta. Well, I think Apple's business model is much more robust, right? And it wasn't up until a couple of years ago that Wall Street started assigning a more of a software valuation to Apple. They always just viewed it as a hardware business. Now, Apple is so much more than just a phone company, so much more. I mean, the services business alone does more revenue than a lot of publicly traded companies. Ah, Love is Kind, says Ted Mosby designed it. Andre Lima says, my wallet is 100% REITs or real estate investment trusts. Interesting. Now here's sort of a longer term bull thesis on Amazon, Microsoft, and Alphabet, Google, if you will. Now I think where Apple, Amazon, and Amazon, Microsoft, and Google have an advantage over the others is because of their cloud computing service, right? So Amazon, you have Amazon AWS, Microsoft, you have their Azure cloud, and Google, you have their Google Cloud service. And in my view, cloud adoption is still in its infancy across the board. So I think if I had to place just a wager, I think those three companies maybe have a little bit of a wider moat than some of the others. Tech Explorers NYC says Apple's favor Apple to Meta. Agree. I mean, Meta is just pretty much just like an advertising business, right? I mean, just think about all the Apple products and services that you personally own. Me, I have the iMac. So the new iMac is the best computer ever, by the way, or the best iMac ever, in my view. With the M1 chip, the thing is so clean, so fast. I would recommend it. It's a very good desktop. And also all the services too. Now, I think an area of Apple's business that I'm actually most bullish on, that I think a lot of people are sleeping on, is the healthcare division. And I think as you have more adoption of IoTs and things like that, You know, even the Apple Watch is very sophisticated. I think you're going to see Apple making either one, partnerships, or number two, they're probably going to have their own sort of electronic medical records software, potentially, over the next 5 to 10 years. Somebody says, what color is your iMac? I have the baby blue version, I think. Yeah, I think mine's baby blue, I think. Ethan G says, you think Zuckerberg changed Meta, his metaverse? Oh, I think he's making a big bet on it. Now, one of the things I don't like to do is bet against these big entrepreneurs that have proven themselves time and time again. So maybe just Mark Zuckerberg is early, right? It doesn't mean he's wrong. Maybe he's just early. It's possible. DWG, good to see you. Yeah, somebody says, doesn't Amazon make the lion's share of their money on AWS? Yeah, they do. A lot of people think that Amazon is a complete e-commerce play. Their big money maker is AWS. All right, team, this is East 17th Street. Line Sing says, Tom, since I bought my first computer 25 years ago, I've avoided Apple for many reasons, not least their overpricing and control freaky good products laughably priced. Yeah, that has been definitely a criticism, I would say. Yeah, Patent Lobsters says, my company pays AWS about 40 grand a month. Does anybody here either pay for any observability products, like a Datadog or something like that? What are the main observability companies? Datadog, like a New Relic? I would be interested to see what the spending is like, maybe from, if any of you are in IT and maybe know the spend, how much you spend. Now, I know that Datadog is extremely egregiously priced, very expensive product, but at the end of the day, good products could demand a high premium. Hey, Noodles is here. What's up? Joan K says Apple is expensive, but I think it's also quality. Pan Lobsters is New Relic and Sentry. Well, Datadog is taking huge market share from New Relic. I actually had an interview as an enterprise account executive at Datadog. They have a good product, very expensive, but I think they pay below market rate. All right, you know what? Let's cross the street. I want to show you guys a great view of the Empire State Building. I think I forgot to put subscribers only mode on. Could some of the moderators knock out the spam bots? No way. Your Google speaker replied, that's hilarious. Yeah, Mike says, I knew Peloton would run out of people buying their $4,000 exercise bikes. It was a COVID cyclical business. And, you know, we said this, once rates go up, those type of businesses are cooked. They're done. BK says, hey, Tom, how do you like living in New York City? I love it. I love New York. Hey, Natalie is here. Good evening, Tom and team. Natalie, what's up? Hope you're having a good Saturday night. Fernando Vasquez says, I have been with Samsung for 10 years now. I love Apple. You're divorcing your wife if she doesn't switch too? Let me know how that goes over.
Oh my god.
John says the Google Pixel is really good and it's also cheaper. So I've heard that as well. But I mean, I don't think I could ever part ways with iPhone. So here's what Apple did that was very clever. And let me know what you guys think. Apple created an entire ecosystem. So if you are an Apple user, I would say about 90% of people who are Apple users, let's just say for your handset or your iPhone. Oh, this is so cool. Check this out. These people are hanging out in their fire escape. That's awesome. That's like the most classic New York thing ever. But what Apple did that was really clever is they own your entire ecosystem. So chances are if you use an Apple iPhone, you have some sort of an iCloud service where they control and command all of your photos, your calendars. So the industry term is called pain to change. The pain to change is extremely, extremely high from an Apple. Maybe if you want to go to Android. And I think that rings true for me because if I ever wanted to switch or make the switch from something other than iOS, I would have to pretty much rip and replace every single thing about my life. Almost everything. That's an awesome shot. I'd love to rent that apartment. This is on the corner of East 21st Street, Broadway. JR says you're an Apple user for everything. Same. Yeah, John, you're right. You have to completely start over. Deborah S says, can I crash my Apple if I don't upload storage? Well, what do you mean by crash? So I know for a fact that I have no memory left on my phone, but I think I pay like 99 cents a month, like $1 a month for additional iCloud storage. NPC 007 says Apple is developing a hologram Zoom meeting app within 3 years. Well, if that happens, I'm not sure Zuckerberg is going to be too happy about that. Wow, this is a really nice shot of the Empire State Building. We are standing on the corner of East 23rd Street by Madison Square Park, also outside of the Flatiron Building. Noodle says you can crash your Mac if you don't have enough local storage. I've done it. I've never had that problem. Well, maybe it's just because when my storage fills up, it just fails over to my iCloud. Man, we got a lot of spam bots here tonight. Yeah, Deborah says I pay 99 cents for additional storage and never have a problem. Yeah, I do the same thing. I think it's worth it. 99 cents. Juiced the F up says, how long have you been doing these streaming walks? I think about a year. I think about a little bit over a year now. But good to see you. Yeah, I mean, for the people that are new, we usually do these streams about 5 days a week, starting at around 8:30 p.m. So usually Monday through Friday, we have a specific topic as it relates to the financial markets. The weekend, like Saturday, we usually just kind of walk around the city and hang out. Although we did cover a lot today. Earlier on in the stream, we talked about a lot of the verbiage coming out of some of the Fed presidents. We also talked about historical market returns during midterm election years. But then Sunday is our Markets to Look Ahead live stream. Check out the Flatiron building here. Yeah, Mike says lots of scooters in Miami, but none in New York. I think they banned a lot of the scooter companies, like Lime. I think Bird was another one. Those were other companies trading at ridiculous valuations. SK says iPad Pro and Apple Pencil alone together can Procreate app have replaced more than half of my use for pens and paint. Wow. Jonathan Richards says Empire State Building is my second favorite building. Number one is the Chrysler. Love that. Deep Value Alex says, do you think Samsung will start taking market share from Apple, especially if they don't come with any innovating products? Well, I think Samsung had the number one market share, didn't they? And I think Apple just surpassed them. I guess we're talking globally here, right?
Associate captain, that's okay.
But does anybody here have, I would say, the newer generation iMac? So I've always had an iMac as my desktop. But here's the thing. My upgrade cycle is usually about, I would say, once every 5 years, 4 to 5 years. And I do the trade-in program where I trade in my Apple. You could trade in your Mac and you get a little bit of a reduced price. They recycle it, so. Wow, DJ's reviewing under 2 says I still have my iPhone 6 and it's still doing a great job. Well, which carrier do you have? Because if you had Sprint or T-Mobile, I don't think they have any of the radio bands that are gonna work with LTE, right? I mean, I think so. I think an iPhone 6 no longer works on T-Mobile. Or if it does work on T-Mobile, it probably works horribly because they run on completely different bands. Oh, Sabrina Fair, you've got it? Nice. JR says, I want the new one. I would recommend it. And very, very seldom do I recommend products. But the new iMac is nuts, man. It's really, really good. It's super fast and the display is insane. So the new iMac has that crazy, I believe it's the Retina 4K display. It's awesome. We'll go this way. Daryl, what's up? From Chicago, welcome. Mike R says, how much is the new iMac? I think it's $1,200 for the, I would say the baseline model. $1,200, I think. I paid a lot less than that because I did you could do the recycle program. So pretty much my entire adult life, for my desktop, I've been using an iMac. So usually every, I would say, 4 to 5 years, I'll buy the new one. But you could trade in your old one, they'll recycle it, and you get a discount on the new one. DJ, so those are like those MVNOs, right? Straight Talk is like an MVNO. VB Amar says, where are the Halloween decorations? I'm not too sure, to be honest. Cynthia Beal says, my MacBook Air has issues with the keyboard. To fix, it's $200. Cynthia Bill, you should probably just get the brand new one. I think the brand new MacBook Air came out, and I don't think it's not fan cooled anymore. So you're not going to hear that fan noise. And I think the way Apple was able to do that is because they no longer outsource their chip making. So I think Apple develops its own chips. So is that right? The new iPad Air, you're not going to hear those noisy fans anymore? But if you guys are enjoying the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and hit the subscribe button if you're new. Once again, we do these live streams about 5 days a week between New York City and Miami. And we'd love to have you guys along for the streams. We're walking up Broadway. We're gonna go to 34th Street and we'll end it up here. Now, all of these places used to be completely closed down, obviously due to the pandemic, but now there's a ton of shops and stores that are opening here on Broadway, and it actually looks really nice. MKS says, yeah, Apple M1 chip is revolutionary. Now, I think the new additions, right, the new line has the M2 chip. But I mean, honestly, for me, I'll probably have my iMac until 2027, 2028. I mean, the thing is amazing. Daryl, I am going to be going on the Long Island Railroad tonight and headed back to Long Island. So this is the new Ritz-Carlton. Supposedly inside is absolutely insane. I was watching a YouTube video about the roof deck here. Now, I think this is the Ritz-Carlton residences. So I think people actually own units in these buildings. Check out that beautiful shot of the Empire. Hey, Theo Miller says hello from Long Island. What do we got, Theo? Nassau, Suffolk County? South Shore and North Shore? Jonathan Richards is like, yeah, Tom, I laughed a year ago when I said you would break 10K subs. I mean, I'd never in a million years knew it would grow as big as it did, but it's been a blast, man. I have a lot of fun doing it. And I think we have a lot of good conversations here too. Wow, that's a really nice shot. So they're expanding the sidewalk here. This has been like this for almost a half a year. It's kind of nice to finally see the construction progress. Oh, Theo Millis is Huntington, Suffolk County. Very nice. All right, I'm a South Shore, Nassau guy. But Huntington is nice. I used to work, what's it called? Right there on North Service Road back in the day. What was that? I'm blanking on the name. Maybe we'll go this way. I think there's gonna be less people if we go this way to Penn. I think Jamie Dimon may have a place in Huntington, I think. And that is the CEO of JP Morgan Chase. Yeah, Ron's is going to the top of the Empire is crazy expensive. I think all of the observatories are expensive. Now, does anybody know what the edge? Ooh, look at this Tesla. This is a really nice Tesla here. Tesla reported earnings last week, and they had a little bit of margin compression. Now, we talked about one of the reasons why Tesla has been able to command a premium valuation on Wall Street is because many analysts argue that if you look at gross margin across the industry, I would say industry standard at, GM, Ford, you're looking at single digit gross margins, maybe, right? 5-7% gross margins. But Tesla has been able to maintain around 30% gross margins, but with all of this inflation craziness, supply chain disruptions, we've been seeing at least 2 quarters in a row of consistent margin compression. So hey, Chris says, hey Tom, happy Saturday, love the streams and take care. Thank you, Chris. Marco says, what neighborhood is this specifically? This is Koreatown. So this is 32nd Street, Broadway. This is Koreatown. If you make a right down 32nd Street, it's one of my favorite places in the city. No Cats, his first time tuning in. Great walk up Broadway. How do you decide where to walk? We just sort of wing it. So I usually do these streams after work. So we'll just walk around for 2 hours. We'll cover our topics and then we'll call it a night. But usually I work in Midtown. Sometimes I work right there on Canal Street. So I guess it just depends on where I'm working that day. But yeah, I mean, Koreatown is one of my favorite places in the city. And it's a lot of fun too. Now, I'm not sure if anybody's a big fan of Korean barbecue, anything like that. There's really, really good K barbecue spots here on 32nd, on 32nd. Now, does anybody know what this sky bridge is called? I think this was the competitor to Macy's. So this used to be a big department store, and back in the day, Macy's and this company, I'm just blanking on the company, they were competing so much, lowering their prices, that they went out of business. Macy's actually made it, obviously. Oh my gosh. Yes, Gimbal Sky Bridge, that's what it's called. David, you're right. But I think it's spelled a different way. I don't think it's spelled like G-I-M-B-A-L. I think it's G something. Yeah, it's the Gimbal Sky Bridge. Yeah, Harry Connie, you're right. It's so unique, isn't it? Yeah, this is the Gimbal Sky Bridge. Gimbals. I work in Manhattan and it's for DeCarlo. Deliveries to Sweet Greens. Very nice. So we're passing Essa Bagel. I'm not a big fan of Essa Bagel. Now, I think the original location is actually on the Upper East Side, but I don't think it's anything special. And there's always a big line. All right, team, so we are coming across Pennsylvania Station. This is where we have to part ways, but just a quick review now that we are going into midterm elections. I want to leave you guys off with the market statistics. Now, tomorrow, we are going to be live at 8:30 p.m. We are going to be doing our Markets Look Ahead live stream. There is a ton of earnings reports coming up next week on Wall Street, but we know that September is historically the worst month for the stock market. But the S&P 500 during October, November, and December, if we look all the way back to 1928, it is on average gained about 0.5%, 0.6%, and 1.4% respectively for those 3 months. However, in the midterm election years since 1928, the S&P 500 has gained about 7.6% in the 3 months following the midterm elections. If you look out 6 months after the midterms, the average return on the S&P 500 goes all the way to 14%, and a year down the road from the midterms, you could expect a 15% gain in the S&P. Now, statistically, what is the probability of these outcomes? Well, we know this. So listen to this. This is interesting. And it says in all of those post-election timeframes, okay, going back to 1928, there's only been 3 of those particular time periods where the market returns were negative. So I don't know, could we see a big rally on Wall Street after midterms? I'll leave you guys off with that. So everybody, thank you for joining. Once again, if you're new here, hit the subscribe button, leave a like on the video, and we will see you tomorrow. Into the Mighty Bull. Have a good night wherever you are, because there's always a bull market somewhere, and you just need to know where to look. Sabrina Fair, Deborah DWG, Kelly Knowles, Latha, Joan Warwalker, Tracy Diaz, Joan WW, NPC, PLA30, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Kevin